Anna was at her wit's end. Months of job searching had yielded nothing but rejection emails. Bills were piling up, and she was desperate. So when she stumbled upon a job listing for a personal assistant with a high salary and flexible hours, it felt like a godsend. The listing was vague but intriguing. Seeking a highly motivated individual for an exclusive personal assistant position. Excellent pay. Room and board included. Anna hesitated for a moment, but then sent off her resume, hoping for the best. To her surprise, she received a response within the hour. The email invited her to an interview at an old mansion on the outskirts of town. The location was odd, but desperation overruled her caution. The next day, Anna drove out to the mansion. It was an imposing structure, shrouded in mist and flanked by ancient trees. The iron gates creaked open as she approached, sending a shiver down her spine. She parked her car and walked up to the grand entrance, feeling a sense of foreboding. She was greeted by a tall, pale man named Mr. Thorne, who introduced himself as the head of the household. His eyes were cold and calculating, but his smile was warm and inviting. He led her through the dimly lit corridors to a lavish sitting room where the interview would take place. As they sat down, Anna noticed strange symbols etched into the walls and odd artifacts displayed on the shelves. Mr. Thorne's questions were standard at first, but soon took a bizarre turn. He asked about her beliefs, her willingness to obey orders without question, and her thoughts on loyalty and secrecy. Anna's unease grew with each question. Despite the odd nature of the interview, Anna was offered the job on the spot. She hesitated but then accepted, thinking of her empty bank account. Mr. Thorne seemed pleased and instructed her to move into the mansion immediately. Room and board were part of the job, after all. That night, Anna settled into her new quarters. The room was luxurious but felt more like a gilded cage. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As she lay in bed, she heard whispers outside her door. She peeked out to see Mr. Thorne and several others in dark robes, chanting in a language she couldn't understand. Over the next few days, Anna's duties became increasingly strange. She was asked to clean rooms filled with bizarre relics, prepare elaborate meals for unseen guests, and attend midnight gatherings where hooded figures performed eerie rituals. Her anxiety grew, and she realized she needed to get out. One evening, Anna overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. Mr. Thorne was discussing a ceremony that would take place in 3 days. The details were murky, but it was clear that she was to be the central figure. Panic set in, and Anna knew she had to escape. That night, she packed a small bag and waited until the mansion was silent. She slipped out of her room and crept through the dark hallways, heart pounding. She reached the main door, only to find it locked. She frantically searched for another exit, but every window and door was sealed shut. Suddenly, a cold hand clamped over her mouth, and she was dragged backward into a dark room. She struggled, but the grip was too strong. She was blindfolded and tied to a chair. Hours passed, and she could hear murmured conversations around her, the words too muffled to understand. When the blindfold was finally removed, she found herself in a dimly lit room, surrounded by robed figures. Mr. Thorne stood before her, smiling wickedly. "Welcome to the initiation, Anna," he said. "You will play an essential role in our ritual." The cult members forced her to drink a foul-tasting liquid that made her head spin. They led her to a large, ornate chamber where she was chained to the wall. The ceremony began with chanting and the burning of incense that filled the air with a suffocating aroma. Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she realized she was trapped, helpless, and unable to escape. Days blurred together as she was kept in the chamber, fed only enough to keep her alive. Her spirit broke, and she spent hours crying, feeling utterly powerless. Then, on the night of the ceremony, she was dragged to the center of the mansion's grand hall. The cult members explained that she would be the prey in a hunting game. They would release her and give her a head start before hunting her down. Terrified and barefoot, Anna was pushed into the darkness of the vast mansion. She ran through the winding hallways, the cold marble floors biting into her feet. The mansion was a maze of rooms and corridors, each filled with ominous shadows. She could hear the cult members behind her, their footsteps echoing through the halls. Anna found a small closet and squeezed inside, trying to control her ragged breathing. She could hear Mr. Thorne and another cult member searching nearby, their voices low and menacing. "She can't have gone far," Mr. Thorne said. "Spread out and find her. The ritual must be completed." Anna held her breath as they passed by, the light from their torches casting eerie shadows through the cracks in the door. When the footsteps faded, she quietly slipped out and continued her desperate search for an escape. She hid behind heavy drapes, under tables, and in empty rooms, each time narrowly avoiding capture. Her heart raced, and she fought to keep her sobs silent. The fear and exhaustion were overwhelming, but the instinct to survive kept her moving. In one harrowing moment, she hid in a grand library, wedging herself between towering bookshelves. She watched through the gaps as cult members swept the room, their shadows dancing on the walls. One of them paused, inches from her hiding spot, and Anna bit her lip to stifle a scream. Hours seemed to stretch into eternity as Anna evaded her pursuers. She finally found a small, hidden staircase leading to the attic. She climbed up and hid among the dusty old furniture and forgotten relics, praying they wouldn't find her. The attic was stifling, and Anna's tears mingled with the sweat on her face. She could hear the cult members below, their frustration growing. She knew she couldn't stay hidden forever. Summoning her last reserves of strength, she decided to make a run for it. She quietly descended the stairs and slipped through the dark hallways, heading for a window she had noticed earlier. It was high off the ground, but it was her only chance. She climbed onto a table and pushed the window open, slipping out into the cold night air. Anna ran across the grounds, her bare feet bleeding from the rough terrain. She reached the road and flagged down a passing car, a sense of relief washing over her when the driver stopped. The man introduced himself as David and offered to take her to safety. As they drove, Anna explained her ordeal. David listened intently, his face a mask of concern. But when they passed the turn-off for the nearest police station, Anna's unease returned. David's demeanor shifted, and he revealed a sinister smile. "You really thought you could escape, didn't you?" he said, his voice dripping with malice. Anna's heart sank as David turned the car around, driving her back to the mansion. She was dragged back inside, where the cult members awaited her return. She was held captive once more, this time under even tighter security. Despair consumed her, and she felt all hope slipping away. The cult decided to give her another chance to play the game, as she had broken the rule by escaping the mansion. This time, they kept her under strict watch, making escape seem impossible. The night before the game, Lydia, the servant who had shown pity before, approached Anna in secret. Lydia whispered, "I can help you escape again, but we have to be very careful." That night, Lydia led Anna through a hidden passageway in the mansion. They moved silently, hearts pounding with fear of discovery. They emerged in the backyard, where Lydia handed Anna a pair of old shoes. "Run and don't look back," Lydia urged. Anna ran, her feet carrying her through the forest once more. She reached the highway, and this time she was more cautious about seeking help. She eventually found a truck driver who believed her story and took her to the nearest police station. The police raided the mansion again, but once more the cult had vanished, leaving behind only traces of their dark rituals. Anna was placed in a witness protection program, given a new identity and a chance to start over. The memory of those cold eyes and sinister whispers haunted her dreams, but she was determined to move forward. And that's the chilling tale of the Shady Job Interview, a cult escape. Remember, not all opportunities are as they seem, and sometimes the price of desperation is far too high. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. Stay safe, and until next time, sweet dreams. Or should I say, nightmares.